Hello, everybody. Welcome to Eden Fractal. We're here at our 93rd meeting, and I'm so pleased that you're here with us. I'm here with Abraham and Rosmari and Eric, and we've been talking about getting around and the Eden Fractal strategy and a new game, a new kind of game that we're going to play today. So I'll share a little presentation to give a little update on Eden Fractal, a little overview of what we're going to discuss today. If anybody wants to say hello or anything like that, then of course feel free to do so. Thanks everybody so much for being here and for watching. Hope you're having a great day, and I'm excited to play. Okay, so if anybody's not familiar with Eden Fractal, you can check out edenfractal.com. We're a community that creates innovative games, shows, and tools. We've been doing so for just about 2 years now. We believe that all communities and organizations should have the tools and methods to make the best possible decision making, fair, fast, and fun. And we're on a mission to implement fractal decision making processes throughout society via collaborative research, development, education, gamification, and community engagement to make the tools and methods available for everybody to make this kind of awesome decisions. So we host these weekly events where we can optimize decision making and make consensus games and experiment and collaborate. Everybody's welcome to join. You can meet great people and learn and contribute and I'll do all sorts of great stuff at our weekly events every Wednesday, 16 UTC. I encourage you to join and also to invite friends. Everybody's welcome to join. And we also produce videos of each event too, which you may be watching right now. So you can check out edenfractal.com/videos, and we have Eden Creator's YouTube channel where you can learn more. And we're also working on building these tools too with some awesome developers who are doing great work to build the tools to let people play these games and so forth. So you can check out edenfractal.com to learn more. And also on X, we have posts that we put up each week from the Eden Creators Twitter account, where we're inviting everyone to join. And we really appreciate everybody's input too, especially if you're interested in implementing on-chain coordination games or consensus games and decision-making tools, helping your community organization make better decisions and build culture and connection and so forth. Then everybody's welcome to join, as I said before. So we appreciate your input to help us collaborate towards building these tools and games and methods to be as helpful as possible for everybody. You can check out lou.ma/optimism/Eden Fractal. My bad. We also host another event called Optimism Fractal too. So I misspoke there a little bit on Thursdays, but lou.ma/Eden Fractal for our events on Wednesdays. And also we post on Warpcast as well. That's some posts from Rosmari. She's making some great posts where we're learning how we will implement these on-chain games to society, as is our mission. One game, if you're not familiar, is the Respect game. That's a game that we play often. We play it each week at the Optimism Fractal events. That's where basically we go into breakout groups with our fractal decision-making processes and fractal consensus games. And then we learn how to give each other respect and play a fun game where we value contributions and so forth. So if anybody's not familiar with what we mean by fractal decision-making processes, then one, recommend exploring the site and checking out some of our recent videos. And then two, also, if you go, Optimistics is a team that created Optimism Fractal and also helps lead Eden Fractal in many ways. But if you check out optimismfractal.com, you can see an idea of some of the games that we're talking about and decision-making processes. And everybody's welcome to join these events on Thursdays at 17 UTC as well. So we have both two events with two great ways to get involved with these cool games like the Respect game and different decision-making processes. And we have all these videos too, where you can watch both the Eden Fractal and the Optimism Fractal videos each week, optimismfractal.com/for the Optimism ones. And then Eden Fractal is focused more on determining the mission and strategy and marketing and ways to convey it, to bring it to all communities around the world. So you can check out our videos here. And then also if you click the link at the top, then there's a YouTube channel where you can find more about all the Eden Fractal as well as the Optimism Fractal videos, like where we've been discussing the new consensus process for Optimism Fractal and the optimistic vision and so forth, all sorts of cool stuff, and other great shows that we have here too, where you can learn more about all the cool stuff that we're doing. So at Eden Fractal, what we do is we play a game that we call Agendas each week, and it's been pretty relaxed lately. Usually the way it works is that we can vote with respect, which we earn from other games like the Respect game in previous meetings, but lately we've been kind of just having more casual, open kind of discussions. So technically we can make proposals anytime that we want to discuss a topic and then vote on the topic. But lately we've just kind of been putting up a topic and discussing it as we go in kind of a free form discussion. And the topic that we put up today is called Direction Question. And it's a new kind of game, basically, where we'll ask each other questions about our direction and then answer each other's questions. I was speaking with Rosmari before the meeting today, and she designed a lot of this game. So basically the way it works is that each participant will write 3 questions that are related to Eden Fractal strategy, then choose 3 questions that they want to answer, and we'll take turns to answer the questions and then have an open discussion. And if there's time remaining, then we can do it again with another set of questions. The full meeting will be an hour, which is about 45 minutes left because we started a bit late. So yeah, feel free to share any questions that you have related to Eden Fractal strategy, and particularly Eden Fractal's strategy towards achieving like our mission and vision about making tools and methods to make the best possible decision making fast, fair, and fun, and our mission to implement these fractal decision making processes. If you have any questions related to your community, organization, or how you can get involved, or how it can help with this, or what our strategy should be to grow, anything like that, anything that comes to mind that's related, please feel free to write it and ask it, and then we'll all hear it. One thing I wanted to mention too, just kind of related to some stuff we discussed previously, just kind of like a public service announcement, is that there's been a few new funding opportunities that have been announced. For one thing, Optimism announced the next 4 rounds of retro funding, formerly called RetroPGF, and they have 850 OP allocated to incentivize impactful work across the Optimism Collective and the Super Chain. There's an article here where you can learn more. It's starting in May and going until October. So really excited about that. And I think that weighs into our strategy in a lot of ways. And also Gitcoin just announced the 20th round of Gitcoin grants, where they're working to both these communities are working to support public goods creators like Eden Fractal, and this round is coming up in early April, and I think there's $1 million being allocated towards hackathon alumni, dApps and apps, developer tooling libraries, and Web3 infrastructure. So if anyone wants that, I can share some more details about these as well, but just kind of wanted to share that real quickly as just a announcement, because I know that funding is helpful to help achieve our strategy, and just in general, it's a helpful thing for a lot of people. So those are some cool sources. We have the Eden Fractal community Notion page where you can see our prior discussions about our strategy, mission, vision, and lots of other things as well. And so in the strategy page, we've discussed strategy for probably like 6 meetings or something now. You can see some previous discussions about strategy that we posted here back in our 86th meeting and 87th. And some of these also have to add more. Some of them we discussed, but we haven't yet added the notes. But I just added a new page called EF93, direction question. And then when you go here, then you can see basically how it works. And then I kind of pre-filled, and I guess it looks like Rosemary's been there helping to organize it, where each person can write their questions. So Abraham, myself, Eric, and Rosemarie can each write our questions here. Perhaps if we want, we can take a couple minutes to just like think about it before we write it if you don't have it ready yet, and then we can get started. So I'll stop my screen share now. Thanks all for listening, and hope that was helpful and enjoyable. And I'm very curious to hear everybody's questions and everybody's answers. So yeah, does anybody have any thoughts or comments you want to share, or should we take a couple of minutes to write our questions, or does everybody have the questions ready?
I've got one question and probably not a whole lot of others. I'll defer to you guys and just listen, but I was just curious, is there any like open source software that is available if people are interested in integrating this this model into their DAO or into an application that they can like take a look at?
Yes, thanks for asking. That's a great question. So yeah, there is a lot of open source software. So there's um, I suppose 3 different main like branches of the software that are all aiming to do similar things. There is the so there's the EVM software that you've used before at Optimum Fractal, and that's built on the Ethereum virtual machine. And that I shared before on the screen. But if you go to optimistic.io/tools, and if it'd be helpful, then I can share that. And maybe I'll just go ahead and just share my screen again just to make it more visual in case you haven't seen it or other people haven't seen it. But optimistic.io/tools has the links to, for example, the GitHub repository, where you can look into the tools that are the open source tools, the open source software that is running what we're using at Optimism Fractal, as well as there's articles here about one, there's like a little video about the overview of the current tools that we're using with the app called Fractalgram that we use to facilitate voting. And so you can see exactly how that works and stuff like that for doing these consensus results and so forth, and how that pins to it. And then there's also several articles here that relate to like more details about Fractalgram, as well as more details of some of the other tools that we're building, like generally about respect and so forth, and some other ones like respect trees that I know Tadas is currently working on a lot. And then there's also this other one, which I think you've seen as well, about the Fractal app, which is kind of like a more comprehensive Fractal app, where one of the ideas is that it can include like the video directly into it. And then also another thing that has been in development for a while is building a lot more features into it for like automatic video recording, a member induction system, automated respect distribution system, dynamic permission system of contract based upon members' respect, on-chain randomization of members into breakout groups during weekly meetings, and on-chain ranking validation, and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, basically, like, to provide an overview here, there's three different main places where there's tools being built to play these fractal consensus games and decision-making tools. And these are on the EVM, which are where the optimistics tools tend to focus mostly on. And then there's also one on the Antelope Network. I'm not sure if you're very familiar with that, but if you're not familiar with it, it might just be a different kind of software stack that you're not as interested in building with. But there's also a lot of great builders, and that's where Eden Fractal software has been built on for a while. There's also a site here that's at the bottom of the Eden Fractal site called edencareers.com/tools. Then this site hasn't been updated in the past like probably past year or so, but previously Eden Fractal was operating entirely on Antelope stack, and there's a lot of information here which might be helpful. It might just also be kind of overwhelming too, because this definitely needs like a new update. But this has an overview basically of the Antelope tech stack, as well as just more general stuff about how people can cooperate with these games. I'd probably have to look to see exactly where the Antelope resources are, but they're over here. For example, if you go to Fractal app, then you can see some of the resources that we have for the Eden Fractal right now, and more details about Antelope and Anchor and so forth, and the repository for these codes that are built on EOS or Antelope, and as well as the accounts and stuff like that. There's also the Fractally white paper, which is a lot of this is originally based upon. So that's kind of like not open source software, but open source information that's helpful. So there's that. And then the other thing that we talked about too a little bit was Sync has been building something. Currently it's not working for whatever reason, but they're also building infrastructure with their own kind of open source software as well. And then, so these are three different options. And what I'm most focused on right now is the EVM version. And what we're aiming to do, and we believe that we'll have in the next month, is build just like a respect game app that people can just go to a website. I actually got respectgame.xyz as a name, so people can just go. They don't have to like set up any software. They could just go play it. And we're also aiming to make it so like it's integrated with embedded wallet solutions like Privy or Alchemy, so that you don't need to like deal with private keys or accounts or paying for gas or anything. We're trying to just make it as simple as possible for people to play it, and then from there they can add on the other features as well. So that's one of the things that we're mostly working on right now. You also know with the Optimism Fractal Notion page, where we're like coordinating a lot of this development. And we also have some other ones at like the Optimistics page and stuff like that I could share with you if you're interested. But yeah, basically those are the repositories you can check out, as well as a bunch of resources, and happy to discuss more about any of that too. I hope that answers your question. If not, then happy to go into more details as well.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sounds good. And feel free to ask more too. I suppose that's one question you said you might not have more, but you're very welcome to ask more questions too if you want. I would love to hear from you.
Maybe I'll come back with one a bit later. I'll let some other folks go.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, I'm curious what the best ways to proceed now are. I'm curious, Rosmari and Eric, we haven't heard from you much. If you want to share any of your thoughts, or if you want to go ahead with your questions, or if you think we should take a moment to write down our questions or anything else.
I wrote my questions. I see Eric has his questions written, so if you want to paste whatever questions you have in here, then maybe we can then start.
Okay. Okay, I will paste my questions in. I wrote them pretty quickly, so I'm just kind of like writing it last second here right now to some extent. But I will paste mine in, and I think they're pretty good questions. And Rosemary, I know that you came up with most of the game, so if you wanted to, I don't know if there's anything I left out about how it's best explained, but if you wanted to guide us through it at all, then feel free to be happy to hear from you, and I'm thankful for you thinking of these instructions here. Perhaps I'll share my screen again too to show where we're at with these questions.
Okay. So the idea here is that each of us writes 3 questions max, and then we go in turns, choosing 3 questions from all possible to answer. And the next person goes. And also we have a minute to answer each question.
Okay. Very interesting. I hope everybody's ready. Are we all ready? Should we like maybe I have it up on my screen and I can hit these triangles to open the toggle so we can reveal people's questions. Should I perhaps should I reveal all the toggles right now and reveal the questions?
Okay.
Okay. Drum roll, please. Okay, Abraham's question. We got that one. Is it clear open source starting point for external software devs who might want to pick up and use the Fractal model? Yeah, and then to add on to that too, we're aiming to make that like much more direct and like very easy for people to contribute to. So I'm happy to talk more about that. That's a big focus for us. My questions, Eric's questions. I'm going to move this space here so there's not so much space. Maybe I'll remove other spaces here too. And Rosemary's questions. I'll zoom out a little bit. Okay, perhaps would each person like to read out their 3 questions? I can go first, or if anyone else
Do we
wants to go
have to
first.
read them?
I don't know. I think it might be nice for anybody who's listening.
Okay.
So I'll just go first. The questions I asked were, and this was kind of a question. I don't know if it's the best strategic questions. We will add it last right now. What is the highest priority for Eden Fractal and the timeline of this priority? If we create a great strategy, then where do you see, if we create and execute a great strategy, then where do you see Eden Fractal by the end of 2024? And what do you think about also like producing videos and creating shows from breakout rooms, which is kind of a, I don't know, maybe it's more specific strategy question, but of course people can choose whichever 3 questions they like the most. Perhaps Eric, would you like to go and share your questions with us? We haven't heard from you yet, but you're looking good in the suit.
Sure. My first question is, what's our first product that we offer for you? When we call, say, join us, here's what we can offer you. And by the way, I think that's tied into what's our top priority right now. So I think that's connected. What are our core capabilities and resources? In other words, what do we have right now do we have code? Do we have, what do we have? And core capabilities, what can we do with what we have? So those are my 3 questions: product, resources, and capabilities.
Okay. My questions are, the first is just a reminder of the mission. Eden Fractal's mission is to implement fractal decision-making process. What are the fractal decision-making processes we have defined so far? This is the first question. Second, what is the next best steps which will help significantly to drive adoption? Or which are the next best steps? And what is Eden Fractal's main priority right now? Which is actually the same question as Dan's question.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah. Similar, not the same.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we got some good questions. Abraham, if any other questions come to mind too, then feel free to add them whenever you're ready. And now, how should we proceed now? Does somebody want to go first and pick 3 questions that they want to answer the most and just go ahead and answer them?
Yes, and we each have 3 minutes, and we don't have to answer each question individually. We can maybe even in our answer formalize an answer that covers the answer of the 3 questions in combined. Or you can maybe do 1 minute for each question or whatever separation you like, but it's 3 minutes in total. Who would like to go first?
What do we do? Are we just any 3 questions from anywhere?
Yes.
So, okay, I'll go.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm setting the timer. 3, 2, 1.
So I think what is our most important strategy? It's coming up with something we can share. Basically, in startups, we call that a minimum viable product. Come to us, here's what you get. So I think it's coming up with that product is the most important thing to do. So that I think that comes into a priority The next Rosemary's question there is, what are the best steps which significantly drive adoption? Customer surveys. Talk to the people we want to help and ask the questions so that we can tune our product into what they really want. That's what my sales mentor told me. The best way to make a sale, even if you're a nonprofit, the best way to make a sale is to find out what people want and give it to them. So we need to actually set up 15 minutes or so with people we want to help and ask them very generic questions. And I have a lot of experience doing that, by the way. So to me, that is the next best step. So the priorities come with the product. The next best step is either finding out what people want or pushing to develop that product, because I think it's our tool set that we have. So coming up with a new tool, I think that's going to be part of our product. So I would probably say put out the tool and at the same time get feedback on what people want. So we craft that tool and the process of that tool right in there. So it's probably focusing on getting the tool usable, and at the same time starting to ask people what they want so that we can market that tool properly, use the right messaging, and put any get features in there. If we create, and what do you think about producing videos and creating shows from breakout rooms? I think that comes with figuring out what people want, because we're talking about two things: messaging. We're talking about defining our market, coming up with the right messaging, and videos are part of that messaging. And then we're talking about media. How do we deliver those tools to people? So I think it's fine about producing videos and creating shows from the breakout rooms. But I think the important thing is figuring out what our first product is and what people want, because that's what our videos should be about. And that's about time.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much, Eric. Great insights. Curious, I'm sure we could have a lot of discussions about that, but I think the way the game works is that the next person just goes now, right, Rosmari? So if maybe Rosmari or Abraham wants to go next, or I could also go too, and then we can maybe come back to Eric's points afterwards for further discussion.
Okay. Abraham, would you like to go next?
Let me think on it just for a second, and then I'll go.
Okay. I don't want to do the same.
If you want, I can go before you, Rosmari.
Okay,
While you're thinking it over. Okay, I'm not totally ready, but I think I'm ready enough.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, this is gonna be
3,
fun.
2, 1, go.
Okay, so I'm going to go share my screen again. And the three questions I think I'm going to pick here that focus mostly on are: what are our first product that we offer to others? What are the fractal decision-making processes we have defined so far? And then I want to touch a little bit more on Abraham's question too about, is there a clear starting point for open source for external software devs to get involved and use the fractal model? So I'll share my screen again and discuss each one of these in a little more detail. Let's see, I'm pretty sure this is the right screen here, but I'm a little bit confused. I have it open twice. Burning in my time here. This isn't the best game strategy here. Okay, so those are the three questions I'm going to aim to answer. The first one I'll start is what is our first product? And I kind of answered this before, but I wanted to provide a little bit more detail. I think that the first product that we should offer, and the first product that I've been working with the Optimistics team and doing a lot of research too, is develop an app for the respect game. And we talked about like integrating, like have the full WebRTC, so the whole video app is like all together and stuff like that. But really, I think what we need to do is build an app that's on the EVM, because the EVM is by far the most popular like decentralized computing infrastructure. It's built with Ethereum and stuff like that, and make it really simple. I started doing like a couple of like quick drafts. I did this in like 5 minutes, so it's not very much here, but I started just designing how it could look like. You just go to a site like respectking.xyz. Maybe there's a cool logo, and I have some reasons for this idea of a logo, but it's like super early draft. And then it has some buttons like play, give, and learn. And it makes it really easy to sign in. Like, for example, I've been looking into this toolkit called there's a thing called alchemy.com, which helps people build Web3 apps. On the EVM, and there's also several other tools I've been looking into. I've been curating a lot of projects and resources here about like different things that we could use. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that I can get into more there, but basically it's called account abstraction services. So like Alchemy, Privy, and so forth make it really easy to like just sign up really easily. So I think that's what we need. Just make it really easy for people who aren't familiar with like using a wallet and stuff like that to play games. There's an example here where you can just like start playing and create a lobby, and then like signing with your email or your passkey or whatever. So something like that, I think, is like our highest priority, building an EVM thing. The fractal decision-making processes. I also mentioned the Optimism Fractal Notion page where I've been curating a lot of this stuff. So I feel like this in general is really helpful for people who like external software developers or people who want to build. And fractal decision-making processes, I added a page here about both develop Optimism Fractal's consensus processes and design and do branding for these consensus games. And so I think that these are the fractal decision-making processes that we should have right now. At Optimism Fractal, we have a council, and at Eden Fractal, we have a similar kind of council, but it works differently. And I had some ideas here about like 4 different branded kind of like games that we could play to help people make decisions with the respect. So that's basically that. That's my 3 minutes. So I'll end it there. But one other thing I want to say too is that there's also a project here to create tools and processes to track projects and tasks for OP Fractal, or just all fractals in general. And that's what we're trying to do with this Notion page too. We're trying to develop a system where people can like use respect to upvote different projects, and then just organize projects for development with like different types of work. So ideally people could just like search for things that they're interested in helping building by going to like search by the tag, and then people could vote up with respect. So first product that we offer, I think, respectgain.xyz, fractal decision-making process like the council, and then clear open source starting point, both the GitHub and stuff, plus having the organized place where people can use respect to upvote things that are most needed to build. Sorry for going for longer, but hopefully that's helpful.
That's okay.
One follow-up, Dan, is the application that is going to be created for the Optimism Fractal, is that going to be available for this group too, and shared, or is it only for that other group, and then it'll need to be like changed for this?
Yeah. So the idea that I have, and I think that both Tadas and Vlad are aligned with, and Vlad's mostly leading the development with another development named Lunar. The design that we have right now is that this game, this application, could be used by any community or any organization without any coding necessary. So there'd be like a field, like there'd be the place where you can play the game and invite your friends, and there'd be a field that says what community or organization are you part of, and you could put in Optimism Fractal or Eden Fractal or whatever other community name. And then that would just show up on the blockchain. So you could say, oh, here's who played this game. And you could sort by saying, out of all the people who played this game, here's the ones from this specific community organization, basically. So it'd be very easy for any community organization to use. And then after like that generic app, then there could also be like customized, like kind of like bespoke applications just for specific community organizations if they want to like deeply integrate it with their own website or have some like more customized features and stuff like that.
Cool.
Thanks for asking. Okay, that's me. Are you ready now, Rosmari? Or I don't know if Abraham's ready now, but we haven't heard much from you, Rosmari, and Abraham's already kind of asked 2 questions. So
Okay. I'm gonna go.
okay, cool.
So the first question I'm gonna answer is, what is the next best step which will help significantly to drive adoption? And I think this would be to define and sort out our priorities as a community and think about ways that we can involve others more. and present it to them in a way that is appealing and they feel connected straight away and want to be involved, and to have a way that we can then welcome them in a way to that retains their interest, and have it organized so that they can find what they want to do and be confident with where we're going to. So providing that kind of the layout for what we're building and having them see it, how we see it, and communicating that to them. I think if we focus on that, then that will increase their trust. And what is our first product that we offer to others? This is Eric's question. I think, in my opinion, is probably our competency at this point, and professionalism and easy access to information that we can provide, so that it points them in the right direction and is easy for them to get involved and learn more. And that is also done through the free videos that we post on YouTube too, and all the resources that are currently available. And in general, it is an easy access point for anyone to enter at this point. So that is really one of the I think key products that we can offer, our competency as a service possibly. And Abraham's question, is there a clear open source starting point for external software devs who might want to pick up and use the fractal model? I think this is one of, in my opinion, should be one of the main priorities and ways that we can further expand and open access for people to use that development that we have and we're ready to share with others. A lot of freestyling here. So Abraham, would you like to go next?
Okay.
Let me know when you're ready.
All right. And go. Okay, so I think as far as the highest priority, I think I definitely agree with Eric that having something to show is important. I don't know if that actually needs to be a working app necessarily, but maybe even just like something like an InDesign or a Figma that shows the flow of how someone might interact with it, like a clickable mockup might be helpful. Just so you can really quickly show what the the use cases are and how our software or our design in the future will meet those use cases. As far as the defining what the product is, again, I agree with Eric. I think that it's probably a great idea to do some kind of polling, perhaps even, it seems like mostly, at least in the start, from what I've gathered, it would be crypto specific implementations, like people that have DAOs and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe the audience is broader than I realize, but certainly there are like polling, you can email poll or just link poll somehow, but developing a list of questions about specifics on what organizations are looking for help with in their organizing decision making. If we could really refine a list of questions that were maybe short enough that it would take a minute, offer some kind of incentive, and send those out in like a scatter shot and just get, interviews are probably really good too, but I think sometimes it's, just like getting a broad idea of what we want, and I guess to inform that, you probably need a significant list of companies that you would want to work for, I think, that are aligned. So that would probably be my first push, and then obviously just marketing, trying to get a little bit of spend to do something like that. That way you can offer an incentive. I know like the company that I work for, we always offer some kind of like gift card or, some way of incentivizing people to actually take the time, because everybody's time is so precious now, even more than it ever has been. So just trying to incentivize that somehow. Like, I don't know, maybe even you get respect or something like that for filling out, or some token that can do something. I don't know. But that would be my my suggestion.
All right, excellent. Thanks so much, Abraham. You still had like 20 seconds if you wanted to add anything else. But I suppose we could also, was there anything else you wanted to add, or is that good?
That's all I
Okay.
had.
Okay, cool. Okay, sounds good. Great. So now we there's like 15 minutes left in the meeting, so we could wrap up any time, but curious, everybody brought up some great points, so we could dive in deeper if anybody has any questions or comments for anybody related to everything that we discussed there. Also, Abraham, I think you still just asked the one question. So if you did have any other questions that came to mind or you asked two questions actually, but if you had another question that came to mind, then feel free to ask, or Eric or me if you had any thoughts or follow-up questions you want to share. I suppose now it's kind of just like an open discussion. If we want to do, we can answer more questions as we put in the original topic proposal. If there's time remaining, then we can do it again with another set of questions. We can also have an open discussion, so we can kind of play it by ear. And what does everybody feel like discussing now?
Is
Well,
there
course, I think. Go ahead.
Oh, I just wonder, the Fractal app that exists now, do you think that that's sufficient to show people what the flow is, or would it be easier in certain contexts to have some kind of a just like a clickable thing where you didn't actually have to sign anything and you just kind of go through it and just kind of show the different stages? I'm curious what others' thoughts are on that.
I mean, I think it's sufficient for sure for some communities. It depends who the audience is. So, like to Rosemary's point, and I think she brought up a really good point that our first product, we've been delivering products for the past like 2 years or so now already, like because we've been producing videos and that's a product, and we've been hosting the events and that's a product, because anybody can join and try it out and stuff like that. And we also have like some tutorial videos, like I started playing the one on the Optimistics website where it kind of goes through how Fractalgram works and stuff like that. So for sure, all that stuff is sufficient already. And it has worked. Like in many cases, people have learned it and they understand it now, and they like it now. The idea of the respect game and fractal decision making processes. But it also depends on how the audience, because as you said, people like time is really precious, and a lot of people don't have time, and sometimes like the current way that we have might take rather long for people to understand how it works, compared to like how you suggested, if we have a wireframe on Figma where people could easily try it out and get like the exact idea really soon. Then for people who have less time, or they're just not, it's not as clear to them how it would help and stuff like that, having it like more cohesive and more concise would provide value. And then yeah, I think, by the way, to add a bit to what I was saying about the respecting app that we're building, I think that'll be ready within the next few weeks, as far as having it where it works on chain. And it makes it very easy for people to try it out and submit transaction on chain without needing to create an account or anything like that. So I think that'll be ready very soon. And I started doing that thing with Figma, but I haven't used Figma that much. So I have to figure out how to like make it a build a wireframe. I know Vlad has done that before, so he might be doing that already. But yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I remember I built a couple of apps for the University of Texas, and it was just like we were trying to basically create a filtering app for medical record data. But it was really cool because we just had this little, it was like a little mock-up thing, and basically you hit a URL on your phone and it was like an app on your phone. You just like press the stuff, and it was a wireframe, but it really helped to like just solidify, especially in people who were we were trying to get to buy into it like really quickly. You could just like tap, and as you're explaining, I don't know if that's, it might not be necessary because you guys already have all this content, but it just that came to my mind.
Okay. Well, yeah, for sure that could be helpful though, because the content's great for people who really want to dive in deep and learn all the details. And if they want to join the events, that's awesome. And then speak with people. But just having an app where people can just try it out in a couple minutes and like really feel it, that can provide another kind of value that a lot of content doesn't convey in the same way. So I agree with you there. And I think we'll have that very and very soon. And we could eventually build it in like Figma and have it done by the end of the day, I think, because it's pretty easy to just do if we just kind of like visualize it and talk about it. And perhaps if you're interested, we could talk about like how to do that, and we could meet another time if you want, or just like work on it and share some messages back and forth or something like that. But then, in addition, actually having it on chain will be helpful as well, because I think some of the audience, like you mentioned, are people who are already in Web3 and they're interested in how it interacts with Web3, and I think we have the solutions in place where it'll be like very it'll be a great demonstration for people who are already familiar with the value of Web3 and having it on chain, as well as there is a significant audience of people who aren't on Web3, and obviously that's like 99.9% of the world right now who like don't really deal with on-chain stuff that much. So I think we'll also be able to have a great demonstration for them as well pretty soon.
I have some comments.
Great, let's hear them.
So, first of all, I think Rosemary's question game is great, and I think it's the core of our second product. So I would nominate that sometime in the future as we talk about this more as being the second stage of testing and integrating it into the app. But when we think about product, think of, in this context, think of a product as something you can buy, use, support, that kind of stuff. So you can kind of say, oh, a video is a product. Well, for what? For what? What does somebody get out of it? It's more content, but it's not really support from that context, the idea of a product. So when I think of that from a marketing point of view, I think of a virtual idea is I go to the store, I look on the shelf, I see something, I pull it down the store, I read it, I use it, I can get support for it. So the idea of saying I get people interested in it isn't a product. The wireframe isn't really a product. It is a tool or capability to get something, but it's not really a product. It might engage people toward supporting a product. But from a product point of view, we have to think of it from a whole customer experience. Is I find out about this thing, I get it, I use it, I love it, I share it. That's really what we're talking about. So with that context, if you take a step back and you say, is the app a product? Well, if the app's a product, nobody's getting people to use it. Even if you're saying, here it is, it's not the complete experience unless you've got that sew down where you can automate it, where people get it, click on it, use it. I don't think we're at that stage yet where people can just say, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to watch a bunch of videos. I'm going to do that. I think right now that app has to come with, like Rosemary said, competence, because competence isn't a product by itself either. That's a capability. I'm competent. So what? What's the product? Well, you can use my competence. Well, how? If you put it as a consulting package, that would be a product. But those things, videos, things right now, those are more resources than products from that context. So I think we need to think of that total. I get this thing, I use it, I'm happy with it, I recommend it. So what is that? And if our job is just to say, we deliver a product, then we need something like Fractal Joy or iValue Global, one of these other organizations to take the role of saying we're creating a product because we're using this product that Eden Fractal makes, which is the app, but they don't really do the support and integration. That's somebody else. That's okay too. But it's kind of like saying, well, we make tires, but we don't really do cars. If you want to drive the car, you need to get somebody to put the tires on and maintain it. So, are we a app production company, or do we create that experience of that first level of decision making? Which brings me to Abraham's good point, which is, well, we need to get feedback. So how do we do that? Do we do that through polling? I think it's too early to do polling. Polling means you kind of already know what you're asking. Just say, it's like Rosemary, it's like skipping Rosemary's question. We already know the questions, let's just poll. No, we're at that stage where we're trying to determine what the right questions are for the customer. So that really is more of a customer survey than a feedback survey. I don't think we're ready to poll. We need to ask them, talk to them to figure out what their questions are. Once you get those questions that the customers have, then you can poll and say, do you like this or that? Do you want this or that? So that's my main comment is I think we're doing great with the app, but we need to figure out how to productize that app. Does it support a counselor or a moderator? What is it? what does it include, and do we have people watch a bunch of videos to get it, or that? I think even the interface design comes from doing that customer survey first. So bottom line, great job, Rosmari. Love the game. I think determining the right question to ask is the second step. The third step is, what's the answer? So build a team, which we're doing, culture, communications, connectedness. Great. Second step, get your right questions. Third step, you get answers to those questions. And I think Abraham's point of going out and finding out first what the right things are, then using polling mechanisms to determine what the answers to that customer's questions are. Did I explain that out myself? Okay.
I think so. Oh, go ahead.
I
Aaron.
wasn't 100% clear on is the ultimate purpose of this application that we're creating, is it profit, or is it more like disseminating and helping organizations, and then having the, is it a side effect of like installation, or what is the trajectory there?
I like this question. A thumbs up.
Hmm.
This is a really good question, because those sort of questions will really define our strategy.
What is I know it's a difficult question too, because on one hand, I love providing help for people. Help people in other countries, and I don't get paid anything to do it. But at the same time, like those things, there has to be an end game to those things, because like even I'm providing help to get education in other countries, and I'm putting money into that, but then eventually I expect that to be self-sustaining. So like I just wonder, is it something like that, or is it something where it's supposed to be a for-profit business?
I think somehow revenue needs to come in here to keep the development going. Even if we make this fully open source, even open source like Gitlabs, that's open source, but there's money coming into Gitlabs by using those tools specifically to help people. So that's a good question that Dan and I have been talking about a lot, is where does that revenue layer? Because I think there is one, like iValue Global, we are actually looking to use our services and get paid to help. Even if it's nonprofit, money has to come in for us to help companies. It's just a matter, does that come from one of these other organizations as a layer between that to work with the individual sectors? Like somebody may take medical, somebody take, I'm focused on nonprofits. Yeah, where does that come? Does that come from Eden saying our job is to create this stuff and use it and bring in revenue, or is there a revenue model for the tools in some way? And it's other people's job to create the interfacing with the customers. Kind of the sales function, the enrollment. So, there's the attraction, enrollment, delivery, and retention. So we're definitely at the production, facilitating the production, delivery stuff, but who does the sales and marketing? Good question.
I think also, yes, it is a point to think about how can we package this, and what services can we offer, like what products can we offer as part of the package.
I think almost like the tool's free, and we will help you use the tools and get the most out of it and pay for that. And then some of that money goes back into tool develop. That's how I've just pictured it in my mind, not as a set thing, but as a brainstorming thing. Is if I can go out and get all these nonprofits and get them to pay, then funnel some of that money back into this organization.
Yeah, so in that model, it would be something like a certain amount of people are able to pick it up and use it on their own, and a larger company that would want to pick it up would definitely want to, have people trained. They'd want to have the implementation done. Oftentimes people make open source software, but they always leave something out of it, so that
I think
there's a need.
the other thing is certification. we will certify you to work with, or you're in your organization or work with organizations to, implement these things. And then you can have things like conferences where people even come to do this, and you charge something for the conferences to make sure some revenue. And there's a lot of other products that you maybe don't get for free. Higher order products we haven't even thought of. Don't know. Somehow we have to keep people funding to do this. There'll be lots of volunteers as this organization grows, but at some level, revenue, whether in some kind of currency, whether it's digital or not, needs to come in just to keep building this. Just like there's revenue that comes in to maintain Gitlabs. Even though there's a lot of volunteers putting in that, Gitlabs is getting paid.
All right.
Maybe it would be good to look at some other organizations in a way how they do it. I have some examples like that.
Is GitLabs essentially a consulting services model, Eric?
Yeah, they build stuff for organizations. They take the stuff there and they build it, they implement it. It's kind of like Red Hat. Red Hat's free, but if you want to implement Red Hat in your organization, that's not free. I mean, they don't do that for free. You can do it yourself, or you can hire them and they will go, oh yeah, we'll use this thing and we will customize it for you here. Or in our case, I think if we teach them to use it, and I think tier one is kind of, you don't need to know anything to get started, but if you really want to leverage it for the organization, you really need to understand decision making and group dynamics and a lot of stuff that Rosmari talked about. Creating culture, creating communities is a big one. I'm reading a great book on community creation right now, and that's it's not enough to say here's this great tool. I'm sure you'll be successful. We're not there yet where somebody can automate and go through that thing, and I don't know if it will be. But I've seen a lot of organizations bring in great stuff and fail. Great training, great tools, and it just sits there. I remember when we first, in the software company I work for, we first got Salesforce. It was like crap. I don't mean Salesforce itself, I mean our use of it, until we finally got our act together after a few years and got people who knew what it was talking about. And then, at the end, I could just go say, I need a button to do this. Within a couple of days or a week, I'd have this new button, and we figured out how to use it more. But that's because a few of us were pressing to use it. Most people go, oh, you're making me use this thing. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Same with most of the ERPs that I've helped or worked with. Most people put an ERP and it doesn't get used worth crap because they don't really understand it. And it's another thing to put something in. It's another thing to get people to adopt it and use it. Most people go right back to normal 2 days after you get something. So you want to get an experience that gets people and keeps people. And I don't know how much of that we can just say, because if you say watch a bunch of videos, nobody will do that. A few people might, but most people won't take the time. They're just, I'm doing this job, I'm doing my thing. Give me something. If it's too hard, I'll forget it. Even a little hard.
Yeah, I agree with Abraham's point that having something that is like nugget, it's like a nugget or kind of a sample size or something to display, and that would really help to have it in a concise form.
But I think we just get the app as simple as possible and we run people through that. I think we learn about that process by working with people directly. And we take what we learn and we try to put that in there to automate that. But I think it starts by us learning how people use this, how they think about it, what's going through their minds. The problem with us is we've done it too long. So we're like, oh yeah, of course. Oh yeah, we get it. Oh yeah, I'll go do this. We're motivated. We've done this too long. So we've kind of polluted we're not good customers of ourselves anymore. too involved in this.
I've seen so many times in large organizations dysfunction, specifically in power dynamics, where a group of execs are supposed to have essentially the same amount of power, and they really don't in a lot of ways, for various reasons. And I don't know. I would love to see this, catalyze some kind of, either just catalyze some way of making those interactions more just more cordial, more enjoyable, because oftentimes you're trying to make these big decisions that involve a lot of money, and people just get vicious. And it's, I mean, on one level I get it,
Well,
but on another level it seems sort of unnecessary. But I think that there is a chance that the DAO structure, the idea of how, these more democratically run organizations will take over in certain areas. I think there's going to be a lot of resistance in other areas.
well, the first part is that people tend to go to silence or violence. Either they try and control everything. Well, Abraham's a programmer. You know how they are. I just said dismiss everything he said so that I can get control of the conversation. And then I interrupt Rosmari and push it this way, and then belittle Dan or something. So, in that case, I'm moving to violence by actively using techniques to control the conversation. The other thing is people go to silence. I'm not going to get abused. I'm not going to go up as I'll just sit here and I'll just be a timid mouse. And so the one thing we've done is look at how do you create a safe communication. That's probably the number one thing. We've made it safe for people to talk and actually get feedback when they do talk. They get positive feedback. So it's not just we've removed the negative, we're reinforcing it with positive when people talk. And that's the first step. And the other thing is we break people up in random groups so people can't form these power blocks. Like if you put Dan and Rosmari and I in every group, we're pretty much think we work together. We're going to try and steer it toward what we know, so it's good to break us up so that you don't get these groups in that. So that's really probably the biggest con is this idea of making it safe. And when you do that, you can start building culture. And once you build culture, then it's time to say, use that culture to figure out what our key questions are. And then what are the answers to those questions?
All right, very interesting. I want to jump in because we are 6 minutes past the top of the hour when we usually wrap up, but it's been fascinating discussion. So I'm happy to keep going if we want. I also have some comments I want to share in response to, but also do want to be respectful of everybody's time too, if anybody has anything going on. But well, should we extend the meeting and keep on discussing and diving this in, or maybe we should wrap it up within the next 5 minutes or so? Also, Abraham, if you wanted to respond there to Eric, I know you've been sharing lots of great thoughts here, but I just want to jump in as kind of a hosting responsibility to see if we want to start wrapping it up or we want to continue the discussion.
I
Maybe
probably should
5
wrap it up
minutes.
pretty soon. I've got some stuff I'm under a deadline for, but I do want to continue the conversation because I think it's valuable and interesting. I'm learning something if nothing else.
Okay, sounds great. Well, we can always continue it more at next week's meeting and on our meetings on Wednesdays, and then also at Optimism Fractal on Thursdays too. We have a planning session devoted towards similar topics as well that we could discuss. Rosemary, I heard you said something. Were you saying to wrap it up, or were you saying something else?
Yes, maybe in 5 minutes max or something.
Okay, cool. Maybe I'll go ahead and just share a couple of my thoughts here as well as like an outro presentation. And then if anybody has any last thoughts you want to share, we'd be happy to hear from you. And then, of course, we can also follow up in the chats and at future meetings as well. If there's anything else you wanted to add there, Eric, too, feel free. I kind of jumped in, but I see.
No,
Okay,
I'm
cool.
good.
Okay,
I've
cool.
talked too much already.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that, Eric. I really appreciate all your feedback and insights as always. It's very helpful guidance for a very important topic. So yeah, I'll share a little screen just to give a bit of my thoughts as well as some context and visual context for everybody. So we're talking about GitLab that Eric brought up, and they're a AI-powered DevSecOps platform. I think it's fairly similar to GitHub, but people could look into it more. I've heard about it several times, and they do have a pricing page here where they have $29 per. They have a free plan and a $29 per month plan and ultimate plan. So as Rosmari said, looking into other examples because I think that they're mostly dealing with open source software, but they have some way to build revenue around it, and seems like a helpful service to learn about. So that's at gitlab.com if anyone want to check it out in more detail. Just wanted to show it so people had some context there. And then regarding the revenue question and how to build revenue, I wanted to highlight this again. So one, we talked about a lot of the Optimism Collective, and I kind of disagree with one thing that Eric said about how like we're not good customers because we've used it so much, and I agree that to some extent. But well, for one thing, Abraham's pretty new. He's just been experimenting with this for the past, I guess, few months now, or maybe 6 months or something like that, 5 months. But then even us, like we've been building it for a long time, but we were able to kind of use these tools in this new community for Optimism Fractal, and it's worked out well. And I wanted to just kind of put a bit of emphasis on this, that this is one like immediate funding opportunity that I'm largely focused on, retroactive public goods funding. As far as I'm aware, it's the largest public goods funding mechanism in the world. In the most recent season, they gave out 30 million OP, and the price of OP increased a lot. It wound up being over $100 million of funding for public goods, basically. And so what we're doing is building public goods, like open source software and tools and videos and so forth that people can use to cooperate better and get along better. So I think this is a pretty big opportunity that's immediate, as well as Gitcoin too. Gitcoin gives out about $1 million a quarter to public goods creators. So it's not as much as RetroPGF, but it's still quite a lot though. And this is happening in this month. So these are some immediate funding opportunities. And to emphasize again, just yesterday, the Optimism Collective announced, or the Optimism Foundation, I should say, announced the 4th, 5th, and 6th and 7th rounds of retro funding. And these are happening in May, August, and October, and they're probably each going to take about 2.5 months. So the first one that's coming up is in May of 2024. It's going to be probably until, I guess, July or so. And this is devoted towards on-chain builders. So this is something I'm thinking about focusing a lot. It's seeking to reward on-chain builders who contribute to the success of Optimism and expand the reach of the network by rewarding those who build value across the superchain, increasing demand for block space and driving value to the block space. And it includes builders who bring new users to the superchain, drive network effects and protocol usage. And there's also one for governance and dev tooling too that we could explore. And the Optimistics team that started Eden Fractal and then brought over the innovations to Optimism was able to receive some revenue for this. So we know it works, and we're aiming to figure out ways that we can both earn more for the Optimistic team as well as everybody too. So I put together this page recently about just exploring funding opportunities for Optimism Collective and the Optimism Fractal page. So there's some more details about this. If you go here, you can see a little article. It's not really super well organized yet, but I have missions is one way to earn funding, and the RetroPGF I put together some links, like a little overview of it. They have 800 million OP allocated for this, which is like, I think it's like $3 or $4 billion right now. So we'll see. Of course, the prices can change, but it's been a very significant process for receiving funding for a lot of public goods creators, including myself. And we have a video that we created some months ago when we talked about Optimism Fractal a lot, Eden Fractal, and then there's also some articles that Optimistics produced and stuff like that. So just want to put this out there as one revenue opportunity. That's like, I think, probably the most immediate revenue opportunity. And the more we can figure out ways to help everybody who helps at Eden Fractal and Optimism Fractal and implements these fractal decision-making processes with their organizations to earn funding from these opportunities, I think the better. So, and we're working a lot at Optimism Fractal, and Tadas has some great ideas about respect trees and stuff that can help with that. So we're figuring out ways to do that, as well as Eric also mentioned Fractal Joy and iValue Global. And so I agree with everything we said there. Like, in addition to those public goods funding sources, there's also opportunities for consulting services and implementation services, and the Fractal Joy I'm planning as like an educational institute that can do courses and certifications and stuff like that. So there's all sorts of additional things, kind of like how Gitlab has these other kinds of services that they put in top of the open source software that we can integrate. So it'd be great to have multiple different revenue sources. So just want to put that out there as things we can think about. And then just real quick too, on Eric's point about the product, Eric brought up some really good points about the product, but I just wanted to maybe show this. I know it's probably almost been 5 minutes, so I'll wrap it up in like a minute, but I think think that we could do something like this and offer like a pretty compelling product if we have the events and the education stuff alongside of like a simple app that explains it. Like it has, for example, this learn how to play thing where it just gives like a simple overview. This game is kind of like Wordle, just like an example game, but like it's a pretty cool game, and it uses like the tools and technologies that makes it really easy for people to sign up. It's meant as a demo game from the Alchemy who built this, and it makes it really simple. Like you can just I had already created a pass key, so I could just like sign in. I'm not sure if you can see, but I'm just using like the fingerprint thing on my laptop, and I can go to start a new session. They also give details about how to like learn about it there, but then I do it again and I sign in, and then it goes and it says create a lobby. Sometimes it takes like 5 seconds to load, so it's not perfect, but like it will load up and it'll say create a lobby, and then one person in your group needs to do it. So it like kind of guides you through the process, you know. Like I feel like if we have this, and Tadas has spoken about this too, he has ideas about how we can like build in a tutorial basically into the app, so it's just like the most key and helpful information. And then I put like my name is, I don't know, John or something, and then in this case you create secret words because it's like Wordle where people are trying to guess words. I would share a lobby link here, then I would share with my friends. I could share with you guys, with everyone here if you wanted to play, and then it creates a lobby, and then that's it. Basically, I can go into my browser and I can go share lobby 34, and then I share it with people. And then, of course, like I said before, there's this button where it has like the full tutorial if you want. And then also once it creates a lobby in a couple seconds, then there's like a little pop-up that comes up in the corner of the screen where they give you more information about like how to play and stuff. So if we had something like this, and yeah, here's the pop-up. DPhil is a creator, and he's saying he gives some fun facts and stuff like that. So I think if we have like an all-in-one product as well as the educational service and stuff like that, that's all really helpful. But I think that having like the app plus the tutorial built into the app, and we would have some ideas for like the tutorial built on this website here, but we can like just make it really concise and really simple as far as how to play the respect game and stuff like that, and have it built in the app. I think that could be like a really compelling product. So really appreciate everybody's discussions here, and I just wanted to put those out there as my thoughts. And this has been a great meeting, Eden Fractal 94, or 93, and we'll have our 94th meeting on next Wednesday, April 3rd at 16 UTC, and every Wednesday from there, basically. So yeah, we could discuss it more then. If anybody has any last thoughts, I know I shared a lot there, so it's a bit longer. My apologies for going a bit longer, and hope I didn't hold you for too long, but happy to wrap it up now or hear any last thoughts. And thanks to everybody so much for the great conversation.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify what I meant when I said we're not good customers. We're great at what we learned and coming up with decision making and testing things like that. But it's tough for us to step back and say, let's say you're working at an animal shelter and want to do that. We have to really struggle to say, oh, what's it like for that person that doesn't have our experience to think about this stuff. So asking us, what should the app be is, it's very difficult for us to step back and answer like they would answer, because we've just been doing it so long and we're like 6 steps ahead.
Yeah, we have the curse of knowledge hat, as you said before, so we got to remember to take that hat off and remember with like a beginner's mind.
Yeah.
Okay, well, great point.
That's
Thanks
all I
for
was saying.
clarifying here. Okay, cool. And thanks again, Rosmari, for proposing this game, and thanks Abraham for bringing all the great questions and thoughts. Really appreciate everybody's thoughts here. Any last thoughts before we wrap it up? Or should we maybe wrap it up on a 3, 2, 1, go eat Fractal? Okay, I think we're ready. Rosmari unmuted. Feel free to say something. I think you're about to say that we're ready to wrap it up. Is that right? Okay. Okay, cool. Well, thanks everybody. This has been a really exciting strategy session. I'm very excited to see our next steps and implement these fractal decision-making processes throughout society. So really, really appreciate all you. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week and also tomorrow at Optimism Fractal too. You're welcome to join. 3, 2, 1, 0. Go Eden Fractal. All right. Thanks everybody so much.
Thank you.